Okay. All right. So, this is my first part of speaking, right? I just want to see everyone here. Okay, right. Right from the start, I have to say that this is really important for my channel, just because I just want to share this kind of tip and strategy, especially for speaking, right? So basically, it's a part of my teaching experiences, right? I've been teaching for over 10 years, especially for the teaching IELTS test. So I think that I'm kind of like, I have a lot more suggestion, or even, the way that I can share to all of us here. So to me, this is my channel for the online, right? So everyone can, see and then try to reply as soon as possible here. I have to say that in order to get a chip for the 7 band, especially for a speaking test, we have to evaluate ourselves in two ways of speaking, right? The first thing is that we have to make sure that we have to have a strength in our ability when it comes to speaking here. In contrary, we have to make sure that we realize for some kind of weaknesses in order to make sure that we can prove and then fix it to be better, right? So this is really important for everyone because when it comes to see both of strength and weaknesses, we have to make sure that we understand the rubric score from a speaking evaluation, which are four criteria. The first one is that we have to make sure that we understand the way that they can judge you as a fluent user of English, and also that you have to make more logic, or even this kind of like you have to try to make yourself to become logical. This is really important for those of you who want to aim for band 7, just because I think that if you can improve your English to be better, meaning that you have to have a good skill for the fluent user of English, as well as you have to make sure that you run your thought in order, or systematically. All right. So second part is that just speaking evaluation from your accuracy and grammar range and structure. I have to say that I've been teaching for lots of students there, right? This is a common area that everyone have to face for, just because I don't think that it could be easy when it comes to correct our own mistake from grammar you said. This is really important for all of us to realize that this has happened to everyone. And I have to say that I've myself been through for this time too, just because I think that for the grammar, or even for the pronunciation, for the grammar and ring and structure, it's not that easy. So I have to say that I try to make myself to become corrected as much as possible here. And also that I think that the third part that we have to understand our strength in that sense of vocabulary use or word choices. Just because I think that we have to make sure that natural way speaking, it means that we have to talk in the way that everyone talk too. This is really important for all of us here, just because I think that for vocabulary, this is really important for you to make it more understandable, right? And sometimes, like those students who have a high command in English, they kind of like use some kind of vocabulary in that sense that much more complicated or even difficult, challenging, it's hard to understand. So the keyword is simple to say, just because just only that you can use some simple word first, and after that you can build your own chunk of vocabulary that is relevant to collocation, the words come together, how to paraphrase the idea properly, and something that is really important for IELTS vocabulary here. I have to say that in order to achieve for 7 band, it doesn't mean that you can use just only for high or complicated vocabulary, but I have to say that it's just only for a simple word, but you have to make sure that you are going to use it correctly. That is the keyword here. And the last one, last but not least, for the speaking criteria here is about that pronunciation. I think that it's a little bit challenging. You don't have any experience with kind of like teaching pronunciation properly. It's, for example, like phonic or even word by word, something like that. And I have to say that this is really challenging for those who study or went from Thai school, just because they don't have any chance or exposure to this English listening or even speaking there. And I have to say that it's kind of really important when it comes to get 7 band, just because for the IELTS, right? The IELTS pronunciation matters. So what we have to do is that we have to make sure that the pronunciation that we use must be correct in many form. For example, you have to make sure that your pronunciation get better just because you stress the tone, intonation, and voice clearer, right? The clarity is a key for pronunciation. It makes you understandable, it makes you comprehensible, and sometimes it makes you smarter when it comes to use for some vocabulary in the right word and the right sentence or even in the right context. This is all for 4 criteria that we have to make sure that in order to get achieved for 7 band, especially for IELTS speaking band 7, you have to make sure that this is the only way that we are going to get achieved for it for sure. And I'm saying here because I've been teaching for the English, right? Especially for coaching for those students who get achieved at least 7 band from the IELTS test. And I have to say that the most challenging part for speaking test is all about grammar and vocabulary and also pronunciation. Just because I do believe that everyone can share the idea or some thought properly, but sometimes that when it comes to accuracy, especially for the grammar form, it might not be really, get successful much. So this is the reason why that we have to make sure that our accuracy must be in the right direction. Moreover, I think that vocabulary is kind of a little bit challenging too, just because you can use for some simple vocabulary, but it must be really important for you that you have to check it, right, with a dictionary or even some kind of like you have to make sure that your vocabulary must be in the right context. Or even sometimes like if you are using synonym, right, you have to make sure that your synonym must be replaced with that word properly. So this is the really important for us to make it realization with what choices that we are going to use. Last but not least, I have to say again, just because pronunciation matters, if you are expecting to get a 7 band, you have to make sure that your pronunciation must be reaching in that level. I would suggest that you can practice from the single word by word first, just because I think that this is the only one way that you can improve it to be better. And sometimes if you don't have any chance to expose the English speaking country, the pronunciation, you can practice it by listening, right? Just because I think that if you can make yourself into the English environment, this is really important for you to make it happen from any kind of like, strategy. And I have to say that pronunciation takes time. It doesn't mean that you just listen and pronounce it correctly, but you have to realize that you can use it naturally. This is the keyword for IELTS speaking here. Overall, I think that in order to make sure that you are going to make it, happen for your IO band score that you expected to get band 7 here, I think that it is possible for you to, evaluate yourself by looking into your strengths and weaknesses. And by comparison between the two, I have to say that it is really important for you that you can achieve for a better score for sure. And I have to say that just because in our during and I have to say that during the practice time, right? Practice time or preparation time, you may have some kind of like, mental chip or mental drain. So this is really important for your rehearse, your practice, just because I think that is a part of your, milestone to get achieved too. So I think that if you want to be consistent, right, and this is the only one way that the practice must be rehearsed through consistency, and as well as you have to make sure that you are going to make it happen for sure. I think anyway, when it comes to speaking, speaking is different from